Okay, so I guess we are going to go ahead and get started, and anyone else who pops in can pop in. But we're going to work on a line and hold, and today's class is really focused on opening up the upper chest, the shoulders, and hopefully helping us breathe a little bit more. I kind of was sparked by this idea. Yes, Laura made the request of, can we do that chest opener? But my teacher, I took a class with him this week, and he was talking a lot about how, as asana practitioners, we could be using our asana more effectively. And his whole theory is that, you use the pose to help deepen the breath. You use the breath to help quiet and settle the mind. You use all of that to quiet and settle the mind so that you can get more in contact with your own soul, your unique reason for being. So I thought we'd take a more esoteric approach this week, playing with that and see how it goes. So the only invitation I ask is that you breathe. And we'll see what happens by the time we get to the end of it. Okay, so our first shape that we're going to take today, I'm going to go ahead and set the timer on my end. And I might need to turn the volume down just a little bit. Okay, so the first shape that we actually are going to start with today is crocodile pose on our abdomen. So if you want to, you can take one of your blankets and you'll just fold it so it's about 1/3 of the way, enough for your torso to lay on it. And then you'll just lay down over your blanket. And if you feel like that is not something you wish to do, by all means, you don't need to do that. And then you'll just bring your abdomen on top of the blanket. And it's just, for ladies, it's roughly boobs are underneath the blanket. So you'll have to squinch yourself forward if you need to, and then you'll stack your forearms right on top of each other and bring your forehead onto the backs of your forearms. From here, notice if you want to have your big toes touching and letting the heels splay out, or notice if it feels better to have the legs a little bit wider and either the toes turning out or the toes turning in. So we'll take these first few moments here to really find the shape before we hold it. And then I'd like you to just notice first how you can let the body be heavy, noticing the tops of the feet into the floor, noticing perhaps where the shins touch, the hip bones, the belly, the ribs, noticing the weight of the elbows, the forearms, and your forehead. And as you continue to just allow your body to come into this moment, I want you to just notice where you can continue to soften, to yield into the blanket, yield into the floor. And our breath for today is going to be very, very simple. The next time you breathe in, I want you to see if you can breathe into the upper collarbones, into the armpit area. And then you'll just let the exhale happen as it does. And for these next 3 breath cycles, you're just breathing into the upper chest, into the upper ribs, into the armpit region. And you're just exhaling from the abdomen. Good morning, Julie. We are starting on our belly in crocodile pose. So forearms stacked, forehead on top of forearms, and you're flat on your belly. And then as you start to take these next series of breaths, I'd like you to see if you can press a little bit of your chest into the floor as you breathe in, a little bit of the belly into the floor as you breathe in. And then as you breathe out, we'll start to see what happens as you just allow the pubic bone to come back towards the spine and then up towards your face. And as you continue to take these next few breaths here, we'll be here for about 1 more minute. I encourage you to observe how breathing down into the floor creates space in the back body. I'd like you to observe how potentially breathing up into the collarbones, into the upper ribs of the chest, maybe makes it a little bit easier to take in that inhalation. and how the pulling of the pubic bone back towards the sacrum and then up towards the face as you breathe out creates a sense of containment. And we'll just take our last 5 breath cycles here. And I encourage you to notice how long, how smooth, how steady your breath is at this moment in time. Take your last breath cycle here. And then at the end of your exhalation, go ahead and cactus the arms out right to left. Let your forehead rest onto the floor, or maybe a cheek comes to the mat, but I want you to just quickly scan what's happening in the shoulders, quickly scan what's happening in the neck, just so you have an idea of what's going on. And then let's all turn our face towards the right hand. Slide the right hand out towards the right just a little bit more, keeping it the elbow bent at a 90-degree angle. Claw the floor with your hand, and then turn your head back towards the left. Step your left hand underneath your left shoulder, and then lightly start to push down into that left hand to roll towards the right. And you're only going to go as far as your breath can still stay full, still stay deep. And you're pressing into that right hand, you're pressing into that right elbow, and you're isometrically pulling both your right elbow, your right hand, and your right nipple towards your left thumb. And then as we're here for this first hold, I encourage you to notice how much you can deepen the breath. So we're still breathing into the upper chest, into the ribs, into the collarbones as you breathe in. And as you breathe out, you're lightly drawing the pubic bone back towards the sacrum and drawing all of that up towards your head. And you're just pausing and you're breathing. You're noticing how full you can make your breath. How is this shape impacting the way that the body breathes? How is this shape impacting your experience of your breath? You've got 3 more steady breath cycles here. Notice what you notice. Notice where you might be able to soften in your attempts to force a shape. And then at the end of your 3rd exhalation, you'll gently just roll back onto your abdomen, cactus both arms, take a moment to check in and see how you feel. How does one side feel in comparison to the other? How is the breath moving in the body now? Okay, let's go ahead and take our gaze over to the left hand. Slide your left hand elbow out towards the left, keeping it at a 90-degree angle. Claw the floor with your left hand, press the left elbow into the floor, and then turn your face to the right hand. Step the right hand underneath your right shoulder and very mindfully start to roll towards your left. And again, you're only going as far as enables you to just become aware of the breath and continue to breathe. So you might get 3 inches, you might not get that far, you might get 12 inches. It's really just based upon how you're breathing. And again, you're pressing into that left elbow, you're pressing into that left hand and isometrically drawing your left elbow, left hand, left nipple towards your right thumb. And you're just pausing and you're breathing and you're seeing how things are on this side. Notice where you can soften just a little bit. And let's see if we can return to that idea of really breathing into the collarbones, really breathing into the upper ribs to create the spaciousness. And really using that exhale to draw the pubic bone up and in. You've got your last 3 breath cycles here. And at the end of your third exhalation, you'll gently roll back onto your abdomen and pause, both elbows cactus, legs long, and just check in and notice, what do you feel now? Great. Okay. Adding on. Start to walk your elbows towards one another until you can prop yourself up on your forearms. So we're going for a Sphinx pose. Now, I want you to separate your feet so they're about hip distance apart for you. And even though I'm going to ask you to do something else, your legs are going to become the most important thing. So press into your pinky toes, press them down into the floor, press down into your big toes, and then lengthen back through your tailbone. Start to energize your legs as much as you can so you feel that your legs are really working. Now press down into your forearms quite a bit. Keep lengthening your tailbone down. And then I want you to isometrically claw the floor with that left hand. Drop your right ear over towards your right shoulder. And then as though a cherub was kissing your left cheek, send your left cheek slightly up, push down into your left hand. And we're trying to find a nice fun stretch across the scalene, the muscles of the neck on the left side. And your legs stay active even as you're breathing here. You're pressing the floor away actively with those forearms, lengthening your tailbone back. Oh, yep. And big breaths are good. And we're just noticing what we notice here. Little cherubs are kissing your cheeks, and you're just feeling what that feels like. Or maybe it's a beloved, or maybe the sun. Something's kissing your cheek. And you've got about 4 more breath cycles here. See if you can deepen the breath. Again, we're still breathing into the collarbones, into the upper ribs. And then as you exhale, that pubic bone comes back towards the sacrum and up towards your navel. The end of your 4th exhalation, you'll gently bring your head back to center and just pause for a moment and notice what you notice, letting the muscles of the neck slowly wake up. Re-engage the legs once again, lengthen your tailbone down, press into your forearms, and then isometrically claw the mat, drawing it back with the right hand as you drop your left ear over to your left shoulder. Tilt your right cheek up just a smidge so you can let the sun kiss your face, or your beloved kiss your face, or maybe some fairy or cherub or something very light kiss your face. And then you're just going to breathe. And you're still active in those legs. You're still pressing down in those forearms, and you're just noticing what's starting to open up here on the right side of your neck. We're being very deliberate today with how we're using the asana to impact our breath. And so we want to see what type of impact that might be having for us. Every day is different. Every moment is different. Every pose is different. And we're just seeing what we notice. We've got 2 more breath cycles here. And at the end of your 2nd exhalation, you'll bring the head back up to center. Take a moment to pause, letting everything readjust. And then lower your head and torso back down to the floor. Walk your hands underneath your shoulders and press yourselves up to a tabletop position. Now, if you still have that blanket underneath you, you can remove it or you can keep it there. But we're going to do something I ordinarily would not have you do. Make sure your knees are directly underneath your hips. Your hands are directly underneath your shoulders, and the tops of the feet can be on the floor or the toes can be tucked under. It's totally up to you. But now I want you to drop your head towards the floor. I want you to lift your butt towards the sky and drop your belly towards the floor. So now we're like sad cows that aren't from happy California. And we're gonna just be here. And your belly is really dropping. This comes from Pittagostu. This is called static back. And we're gonna stay here for a minute. You're pressing the floor away actively with those arms, but you're letting your belly drop towards the floor. You're letting your head drop towards the floor. And it feels like the sit bones and buttocks are sort of flowering behind you as the belly drops. The arms need to stay straight. And the longer that you're in this pose, you might find that your forearms start to engage. You might find that you feel this in your shoulders, but you're letting the belly really drop, really, really heavy bellies. You're letting the head drop, really, really heavy heads, and the sit bones and buttocks just flourish and shine behind you. Very odd image, but you're just noticing what the shape is now doing to your breath. And as we're here for these last 6 breath cycles, I want you to just observe how sensation is building now. How is the breath here? Are you still able to breathe up into those collarbones, into the upper ribs? And how does the exhale happen here as the pubic bone goes back towards your sacrum and then up towards your head? You've got about 2 more breath cycles, and just notice what you notice. Great. The end of your next exhalation, start to walk your knees together. Tuck your toes under and start to walk your hands back towards your knees. So we're going to pause here for a moment before we go up into toe squat. So if you want to tuck your toes under, by all means, go ahead and do that, and then bring your hands back down to the floor for just a moment. So one of our key actions for the day is this. I want you to think of dropping your belly towards your thighs once again. Reach your heart and sternum forward through the gates of your arms. Notice how long your spine is here. So your sternum and your pubic bone are reaching away from each other. Press down into the hands, lift up through the inner armpits. Yep. And you're going to find your breath here. We're just going to stay here for a minute. Don't worry, we'll have a long toe squat option, but this is just our first little introductory. I want you to notice what's happening to your spine. This shape will come back in a harder shape. So you're just giving yourself the idea of imprint right now. How is the breath? How is the body? You got your last 3 breath cycles here. Great. At the end of the next exhalation, this will be your choice. We'll be in the next series of shapes for 3 minutes. So you can come up to toe squat, or you can extend the tops of the feet to the floor and just sit on top of your shin bones for Vadrasana. Your choice. You choose what works best for you. We're going to go ahead and bring our hands back behind our low back. I want you to interlace your fingertips to the webbing. Draw your shoulders up towards your ears and shoulder blades onto the back, elbows towards each other. Now, once your elbows are coming towards each other, you're going to reach your hands away from you. And we're going to try that same breath we've been working on so far. So breathing into upper chest, armpit area, and then exhaling from pubic bone to belly button, and just seeing how that's going. So we're going to just stay here and breathe, noticing how this feels to really work to hug the elbows towards each other as though someone lightly had their hands on your elbows and they're closing them together like a thigh master. And you're just, I know, sorry, Sandy, I had to say it was a funny image. And you're just sitting here and you're pausing and you're breathing and you're noticing what you notice. We've got about 4 more breath cycles just in this shape. And so you're noticing how this feels. At the end of your next exhalation, you'll gently unclasp the hands. If the toes are tucked and you want to come out of toe squat, please sit down on your shin bones. And then we're just going to take a moment to pause and just observe and notice how this feels. Okay. I'm going to encourage you not to go back into the toe squat for the next ones, but you can if you'd like. You're going to make a fist with your left hand and little rolls as you punch towards the sky. Okay. Now, once you're there, go ahead and come to stillness, bend the left elbow, grab the left elbow with the right hand. As usual, press the left elbow to the left, draw it in towards the right, and see if you can lengthen down. Now, as we've been doing before, I want you to breathe into collarbones, into ribs, and then the exhale as the pubic bone goes back towards your sacrum and up towards your spine, seeing if you can still find that verticality through the rib cage. And Julie, if you don't want to bend your elbows, that's okay. You can just reach up and maybe hold on to the wrists and see if that's a little bit better. Okay. And we're just pausing and we're breathing. We're trying to find length along that whole left side body. And you've got about 3 more breath cycles here. And you're just observing and you're noticing what this feels like. Can you deepen the breath? Are you observing what's potentially changing in your energetic landscape? Do you feel calm? Do you feel energized? Just notice what that's doing to you. At the end of your next exhalation, you'll reach up through your right arm, you'll reach up through your left, you'll lower both arms down and just pause and notice what you notice in the shoulders. How does the right shoulder feel? How does the left shoulder feel? Do you need to take some little circles, or are you okay with just observing the difference? Great. And then we'll try it on the other side. Make a little fist with your right hand. Make some little wrist circles as you punch towards the sky. Once your hand is completely up to the sky, come to stillness, bend the right elbow, grab the right elbow with the left hand. And as usual, you'll press the right elbow to the right as you pull it to the left. You'll draw your skull straight back. So your head, is stacked over your pelvis. And then you'll notice, if you can, breathe again into collarbones, into upper ribs. And then the exhale draws the low belly, pubic bone back towards the sacrum, up towards the face. And again, Julie, you might take the same variation you took on the first side, or just stay exactly as you are. And you're just pausing and you're breathing and you're noticing what you notice here. Great. And you've got about 3 more breath cycles here. And then at the end of your third exhalation, reach up through your left arm, reach up through your right, lower both arms down towards the hips. Take a moment to pause, and then you might find that you wish to take some little shoulder circles just to see how things are moving. Cool. When you feel complete with that, let's go ahead and come forward. Plant your hands on the mat, and we're going to take a moment to press down through all the tips of your fingers. So spreading wide through the hands are directly underneath your shoulders. From here, I want you to push the floor away until it feels like your upper armpits just float up to the sky, and then slide your right foot back, tuck the toes under. Slide the left foot back, tuck the toes under. Julie, if you want to come to your forearms, you can do that by all means. Here's our next hold. We're going to stay here for 2 minutes. And so you're going to just press that floor away. And you'll notice if it doesn't feel like a lot's happening in your core, your butt's probably too high. So you might need to lower your pelvis just a little bit. And then that same breathing that we started with. So I want you to breathe into the collarbones, into the upper ribs. And then you'll exhale, the pubic bone goes back to the sacrum and up towards your face. And again, the tailbone is lengthening back actively towards your heels. Those quads are engaged. And you're going to notice what you notice here. This shape, for a number of reasons, has a very different energetic feel to it. And I want you to observe how that's impacting your breath. How the change in breath is impacting your mind. And so you'll just pause and you'll breathe and you'll notice what you notice. Keep pressing the floor away. Keep lengthening the tailbone back and see if you can stay with that breath into collarbones, into ribs. Pubic bone draws back towards the sacrum and up towards your face. You've got your last 6 breath cycles here. And you're just noticing the qualitative difference of the breath. You're noticing what impact that has on the mind. At the end of your 6th exhalation, you'll gently lower your knees back to the mat and you'll take toe squat once again if you'd like. And you're just going to pause and you're going to notice what you notice. What is the energetic feel for you now? So we're very specifically using the shape to impact our breath, so we can use the breath to impact our mind. And you're just observing what you notice now. Okay. All right, from here, let's go ahead and stand onto our shins. I encourage you to pad your knees with a blanket if your knees happen to be sensitive, and you might wish to have one and or both of your blocks easily accessible. Great. And then once you're vertical, let's step our right foot out to the right. Make sure your right foot is in line with your left knee. And you want to make sure your left hip stays over your left knee. Great. Let the right hand touch on the top or wherever it's going to touch on the right shin. You might also have your block over there just in case. In either way, we'll go ahead and inhale, lift up through your left arm. Word of wisdom, let gravity help you. Don't go as far as you can immediately. So you'll inhale, lift up. As you exhale, start to side bend to your right. And again, we're staying with that same breath focus that we started with. So we're breathing into the upper armpit collarbone on the left side. And then the exhale draws the pubic bone back to the sacrum and up towards your face. And you're just allowing gravity to help you. So you don't have to go big at the beginning. Since we're holding the shape for about a minute, gravity will deepen it on its own. All you have to do is just breathe into that left armpit, collarbone, rib cage, and then exhale, draw the pubic bone back to the sacrum and up towards your face. And you'll notice that you can then just pause and you can breathe, and you're just allowing yourself to notice what's happening on your left side. We've got about 3 more breath cycles here. Every exhalation, pubic bone goes back to sacrum, up to face. Great. On your next inhalation, sweep the left arm up, sweep the left arm parallel to the floor, and then like you're pulling something, reach your spine up to vertical. Step your right leg in, sit your butt back. And you're just going to pause and be still here for a moment and notice what you notice on the left side as compared to the right side. We spend a lot of time being in activity, but I think for us to be effective, no matter what we're doing, we really have to understand the impact that any given action is having. Okay, we'll go ahead and try the other side. So let's go ahead and stand back onto our shins. Extend your left leg out towards the left. Make sure left heel arch thing is in line with your right knee. Left hand goes on top of left thigh, left shin, maybe onto the left block. Lift your right arm up and overhead. And then little exhale over to the left. And again, our focus is just on inhaling into our right armpit, our right collarbone, the right ribs. The exhale draws the pubic bone towards the sacrum. It draws all that energy up towards our face. And you don't have to go big, like gravity will help you along. Everything must go down. So you just focus on breathing and gravity will assist. Breathe into upper collarbones, upper ribs, pubic bone draws in and up. Notice that might create a slight rotation to the right, and then you might find a fun stretch happening across your QL, muscle that attaches ribs to hips. You might even find that across your latissimus dorsi, which attaches to your hips, sacrum area, all the way up the back to your arm. And you're just pausing and you're breathing and you're noticing what you notice. We've got about 4 more breath cycles here. And again, the focus is just on the breath. How can we deepen our awareness of the breath? Nice job. On your next inhalation, the right arm will sweep up. It'll sweep out to the right, parallel to the floor. And like somebody pulling you up, it'll pull the spine up. Step your left foot in, lower onto your shin bones, and just take a moment to pause. And just observe the energy in the body. Notice your quality of mind. And just breathe. Okay. If the eyes are closed, softly open the gaze. You might need to turn to face the top of your mat once again, and we're going to come to downward facing dog. Now, before we get to downward facing dog, plant your hands shoulder distance apart, just as we did before. Claw through the mat. Melt your heart towards the floor like we did when we were sad little cows. Tuck both sets of toes under and then lift your pelvis up and back towards downward facing dog. Now for today, I want you to pay attention to what's happening in your shoulders most specifically. Can those armpits still keep lifting up? And then can you press from your shoulders down into your palms? And then can you lift your waist up and away from your shoulders, your hips up and away from your waist? And so we're paying really particular attention today to what's happening in the back. The knees may be as bent as they want, as straight as they want, but you're noticing the line of fascia that might be opening up because we spent all that time doing that side body elongation. And then once we're here, I'd like you to bring your awareness back to your breath. So can you breathe into the upper armpits and the collarbones? Noticing that the chin can slightly tuck into that nook of the chest. Yep. And then as you exhale, it's the pubic bone is coming back to the sacrum and then up towards your face, but it has a slightly different feel now. And you're just noticing what you notice here. Again, the awareness is on the breath. Collarbones, armpits inflate with the inhalation. And then as you exhale, the energy is coming from the pubic bone back to the sacrum and up towards your face. And we've got about another minute or so in this shape, and you're just pausing and you're breathing and you're noticing how the body is moving on its own, even as you're completely still. The fascia can expand, it can open, the energy pathways of the body can expand, they can open. And you're just staying very connected, very alert to that. And you're just pausing and you're breathing. One of the fun things I do find interesting about asana, sometimes we can make it so complicated and sometimes it can be so simple. But how are we falling into a greater sense of connection with self? I think that's the better question. Sometimes that complexity is needed to actively engage us, and sometimes it's the simplicity. Whatever it is for us, we can know that by how we're breathing. You've got your last 2 breath cycles here. Okay. At the end of your second exhalation, start to bend your knees and walk your feet towards your face. Forward fold, top of space. Now, once you get to the top of your space or into that forward fold, you might slide a block between your shin bones on it there. It's second setting. And then from here, we're going to skip this forward fold and slide directly up into halfway lift. Bend your knees as much as you need to. Press your palms into your shin bones or into the thighs. Julie, slide the block down a bit. There you go. And then I want you to find that shape that we found when we were in that awkward toe squat the first time. So it's like your belly is dropping to the floor. Your buttocks are splaying and spreading behind you like a beautiful flower. Then draw the shoulders away from your ears. Yep. And then lengthen your head away from your tailbone like a turtle coming out of its shell. Chin still tucks in towards the nook of your neck. Yep. And then you're just pausing and you're breathing and you're noticing what it feels like to feel your back muscles engage here. You're lightly hugging into that block. And we're finding that space between your pubic bone and your sacrum. So just like we did in that awkward toe squat, you're finding that spaciousness here. And you're building some of the muscles on the back. And you're just pausing and you're breathing and you're noticing what it feels like to really activate legs, to really activate the low back. Great. Take your last 2 breath cycles here. On your next inhalation, start to bend your knees forward, hinge your head back, and sit for chair pose. Arms can come to heart center. Arms might reach forward. Arms might reach up and overhead. But here's our next hold. And we're going to see if we can pause and if we can breathe here. So again, just as we did before, the breath is always coming into upper collarbones, into armpits, into that upper ribs. And then the exhale draws the pubic bone back to your sacrum and up towards your face. So one of the cool things, according to Krishnamacharya, about this type of breathing is he says it creates elongation in our thoracic spine. So we're seeing if we can create extra space by using the inhalation to almost lift the upper ribs off of each other to create space in those intercostals so that there's a lot more expression and openness around our heart space. And so you're just pausing and you're breathing and you're noticing how something so simple can be so hard, or something so complex can be so simple. And you're just noticing what you notice. Yep. And you're just pausing and you're breathing and you're squeezing into that block if you've got it. And you're pressing down into the whole heel of the foot, the sole of the foot. And then you're really focusing on that breath. Inhale lifts collarbones, armpits, upper ribs, widening them right, left, front, and back. And the exhale draws the pubic bone back towards the sacrum, up towards your face. You've got your last 3 breath cycles here, and you're just breathing. You're noticing what you notice. Okay. The end of your 3rd exhalation, you'll inhale, stand up, reach up. Pause, keeping both arms high. I'd like you to drop your tailbone down and root into the whole ball, sole, heel of the foot. And then start to cactus the elbows back to that starting position we started. So elbows are in line with shoulders. And this always reminds me of Beavis and Butthead for some reason, but you're just gonna lengthen the tailbone down. And then you'll notice here that as you breathe in, you're breathing into the collarbones, the ribs, the armpits, maybe out towards the elbows. And the exhale draws the pubic bone back, the belly button in. Now, for the next 10 seconds or so, you'll stay there right in that shape, just breathing across the heart space, noticing how this is keeping the chest lifted. And then gradually you'll start to open the hands out so they're parallel to the floor, and then sweep the hands down alongside your hips, but keeping that collarbones and the shoulder blades in that same relationship that you just had them in. And then you're just going to pause and stay here for a moment and breathe and notice what this feels like to have your heart this open, to have the shoulder blades really supporting the lifting of your heart. So it's not a forced thing, but it's like really a supported opening of your heart, of your being. How does the breath feel? How does the body feel? How does the mind feel? Awesome sauce. Okay, very gently go ahead and remove that block. And we're gonna turn to face the long edge of our mat. From here, I encourage you to bring both of your blocks and bring one to the top of your space and one to the back of your space. And then once you've done that, let's go ahead and separate our feet about 3 or 4 feet apart. It really depends upon how long your limbs are. Okay, from here, turn your left toes to the right, turn your right toes towards the right. And then I want you to recreate that shoulder position that you just had. So your shoulder blades are on your back, your palms are facing forward. We're doing that Egyptian flat as a board type of thing. Great. And you might notice that your left hip is angling more towards the right. That's perfectly fine. It'll help you quite a bit. Next, inhale, lift your right arm up and overhead like we're doing Superstar or Hamilton. As you exhale, I want you to keep your hips exactly as they are, but reach out through your right hand and lower your right hand towards your right shin. And then we'll do that again. Inhale, lift the right arm parallel to the floor first, and then come all the way back up to vertical. And exhale, we'll go back into that shape. So we'll do this 3 more times. So I'm trying to strengthen your side body before I make you hold this shape. And then we're going to hold this shape. So the exhale draws you down. The inhale reaches the right arm parallel to the floor first, and then you use the side body to come up to vertical. Yep, and we got about 2 more. The exhale goes down. Inhale comes up. It's almost like a defunct sort of drinking bird. Okay. The next time your right hand comes down, we'll go ahead and pause there. You might keep your right hand floating on your right shin. You might grab your right block and use that if it feels like your shin is too far away. What I want you to do is push down into both feet a lot. As we haven't let our left hip go back, it will be a lot more intense in just a moment. Extend your left hand back so it's parallel to the floor, and then sweep your left arm either up towards the sky, palm still faces forward, or you can swim the arm completely over your head. Now you're going to pause here, slight bend into your front knee, push down into both legs, hug both feet together, and same breath pattern we've been working on the whole class. Inhale into collarbones, into armpits. Exhale, pubic bone to belly button to spine, and rib cage slightly rotates towards your left. And you're just pausing in your breathing here. Because we blocked our hips, sort of, we didn't let them move, you're going to probably feel this a lot more in your left side body, left hip, more so than the back of your right leg. And so it's just being very strategic with how we're using this. And you've got about 4 more breath cycles here. How calm, how smooth, how steady is your breath? What do you notice about it now? What do you notice about your energy level now? The end of your next exhalation, just as we did before, sweep your left arm back parallel to the floor, bend your right knee, come up for warrior 2 and pause. You might need to adjust the way that your hips feel for a moment, but here's our next hold, and we're going to see how this one feels. So you're still pushing down into that back left foot. The right knee is angling over the center of your right foot. Yep. You're reaching back and forward equally. And then you're noticing what it feels like to breathe into collarbones, into upper ribs, upper chest, and what it feels like to draw the exhale, the pelvis, the pubic bone back to the sacrum up towards your face. Continuing to breathe, continuing to allow weight, allow gravity to help you as you bend into that front knee, press into the back foot. So Sandy, we're taking warrior 2, right knee forward, first side. Yep. Great. You got 3 more breath cycles here. And at your third exhalation, as that ends, you'll inhale, reach back through the left arm, straighten the front leg, turn both legs parallel to the short edge of your mat. Lower your hands so they're facing forward, just like we did in that Egyptian shape. And you're just noticing what you notice here before we try the other side. I think that we have so many tools and resources available to us, but it's just a matter of getting really clear with them, getting really good at using them for what they're most optimally able to do. And that's all we're doing with our asanas today, seeing how that works out. Okay, remove that block if it's still in front of you if you need to, and then we'll try all that on the other side. So you'll start to turn your right toes to face the right. You'll turn your right toes to face the left, left toes to face the left. Both palms face forward like for an Egyptian. And then you'll inhale, sweep up through your left arm. And then exhale, keep the pelvis as it is. Reach as far as you can through that left hand until it comes down and out towards your right or your left shin. And then inhale, reach out through the fingers once again to bring you all the way back up to vertical. And you've got 5 of these. So the exhale keeps the pelvis in place as you reach out through the left arm. The inhale reaches out through the left arm and then comes all the way back up to vertical. Yep, you got 3 more of those. So we're doing this again to really start to strengthen our latissimus dorsi, our internal and external obliques, especially before I have you hold this shape. It's also having you strengthen the power of your legs. So you're just seeing what's going on as we're doing this. Are we still breathing? Have we stopped? Okay, we should have 1 more. And then at this one, we'll go ahead and stay in the shape. So maybe the left fingers just press onto the top of the left shin. The left shin presses forward. Maybe the hand comes down to the block, but your right shoulder still stacks on top of the left. And then you'll inhale, sweep back through the right arm until the arm is up and maybe it's up towards the sky, or maybe you fan the arm over your head. But you're going to, again, pay attention. Gravity is going to help deepen this. So you don't have to go balls to the walls crazy with this. You just have to breathe. So we're going to breathe into the upper collarbones, into the armpits, especially on that right side. And then the exhale draws the pubic bone back to the sacrum up to the spine. And you'll notice that that then sort of rotates your left ribs to the right a little bit. So it feels like the right shoulder stacks a little bit more easily on top. And again, you're pressing into both feet. The legs are working really hard and you're just breathing. And we've got about 4 more breath cycles here, and you're just noticing what you notice. How are the legs working? How is the breath working? How are you sensing that opening that might be happening on the right side, the power that might be utilized in both legs? Great. At the end of your 4th exhalation, sweep up through the right arm, reach your back so it's parallel to the floor, and then pull yourself up to a warrior 2. Bending into that front knee, noticing if you need to adjust the position of your pelvis just a little bit. And then you're going to pause here. Really allow that front knee to bend so the front knee tracks over the center of the front foot. Press into the knife edge of your right foot. And then notice if there's equal energy into the front arm, the back arm, if there's rotation happening in your rib cage. And again, breathing into upper collarbones, upper armpits, shoulders, and then exhaling pubic bone back towards sacrum, sacrum up towards the face. And you're just pausing and you're breathing and you're noticing what you notice. Great, you've got about 3 more breath cycles here. Can you allow gravity to help you bend into that front knee? Yep. All right, here's your last exhalation. Then inhale, reach back through the right arm, come up to stand, straighten the front leg. Go ahead and turn both legs in parallel to the short edge of your mat. Bring your hands to your butt cheeks. Draw your shoulder blades together on your back. Lift your heart. And then as you exhale, slowly slide the hands down the outside of the legs, down towards your feet, folding in. Keep tucking chin to your chest. Spine, yep, stays long. And then hands might rest on ankles. And once you're down here, I want you to see if you can find that nestling of the chin into your throat. And then just as we did before, you're breathing into the collarbones. You're breathing into the upper chest as you inhale. And the exhale draws the pubic bone to the sacrum up towards the face. And in this orientation, I want you to notice immediately what happened to your energy. I want you to notice what the feel of this shape had on you. You've got 3 more breath cycles here. All right. At the end of your 3rd exhalation, we'll start to slide your hands back up the backs of the legs, coming into that halfway lift position that we started off in that awkward toe squat. So your pubic bone reaches back, your sternum reaches forward. Yeah, the shoulder blades onto the back. There we go. And then you'll inhale and come all the way up. That's so pretty. Cool. Let your hands rest alongside your hips for a moment, and you'll just take a moment to pause. This next one's going to be fun. Sandy, I think you're particularly going to enjoy this. And then we're going to just turn our heels in and our toes out. Heels in, toes out. Highly encourage you to bring your hands wherever the hell feels good to you. Can't believe I just said hell, I'm sorry. And your hands might come to heart center, they might cactus, but we're going to be in this shape for quite a bit of time. So you're bending those knees to about a 90-degree angle. You're pressing down into your big toes. You're hugging your outer hips in, and hello, we're in goddess/horse stance. And we're going to breathe. And so I want you to observe how this shape has impacted your breath. Again, we're trying to breathe into the upper collarbones, the upper ribs, the upper chest, and the exhale is drawing the pubic bone back to your sacrum, up to your face. And you're just pausing and you're breathing. There's a lot of energy probably happening in your legs. You're pressing down through your heels. You're hugging those outer hip bones in. And we're just pausing and we're breathing and we're noticing what we notice. The shape has an impact on our breath. The breath has an impact on our mind. The mind has an impact on how we're connected to our sense of self, our outlook in the world. And we're just pausing and we're breathing and we're noticing all that as it's happening in real time as we sit. You've got another 4 breath cycles and you're just pausing and you're breathing and you're noticing what you notice. The end of your neck, your 4th exhalation, you'll straighten your legs long. Oh man, you'll lower your arms down, turn your legs in so they're parallel. Notice that rush of energy going through the body. Hello, legs. We appreciate you. Okay, let's go ahead and step our feet together so they're hip distance apart. Turn to face the top of your space. And then hands come to the backs of your legs. Chin tucks in towards your chest. Hinge at your hips. Come forward through a forward fold, sliding hands down the legs. From here, bend your knees. Plant your palms. Step back to downward facing dog. Great. And from downward facing dog, you have the option to stay right here if you'd like, or I encourage you to lower down to child's pose and swing your arms back behind you for embryo. So you choose whichever one feels best to you. So you're either hanging out in down dog or hanging out in embryo pose. Awesome sauce. And again, you're just noticing what you notice. How's the breath now? Great. If you're in embryo, slide your hands forward so they're underneath your shoulders. And start to press yourself up to hands and knees. And I want you to bring your palms to touch and your forearms to the floor. So we're coming to forearms and knees now. Now everyone walk your elbows in a smidge so they're slightly more narrow than your shoulders. Push down into your forearms and spread wide on the skin on the elbows so it feels like your skin catches the mat. Tuck both sets of toes under, press into the forearms, tuck your chin to your chest and round your spine a lot. So round your spine a lot, like a Halloween cat, round your spine a lot, round your spine a lot. Keep that, tuck the toes under. If they're not, start to lift your hips high. And again, you're pushing down through the forearms. You're lifting up through the inner armpit. So Sandy, widen your elbows a little bit if that doesn't feel good to you. There you go. And I want you to, again, stay with what we started with. So the chest is rounded. Your armpits are floating up like a lot. You're pushing down through the forearms a lot. And in this prayer position, notice if there's more weight in the right pinky or the left pinky. Is there equal pressure into the palms? And can you stay with that breathing that we started? So inhale into collarbones, into the armpits. Exhale, pubic bone to sacrum up towards your face. And you've got about 5 more steady breath cycles here. You can stay here as long as you like for those 5 breaths, or you can return back to child's pose. But you're just noticing what you notice. How is this shape impacting your breath? Nice job, guys. And then at the end of the 5th exhalation, you're just going to go back to embryo pose once again, and we're going to see how the energy is moving now. How is the energy now? How did that shape impact the way that you're breathing? How did the breath impact the way that you're feeling, you're thinking, you're believing you are in this world, or how others are in this world? That's kind of the powerful part of asana or yoga practice more generally, is this idea that it really gives us a time and opportunity to shift our perspective. And sometimes that shift of perspective really comes by being in weird shapes. And sometimes it just literally comes because we've altered our breathing. We've altered our nervous system. We've altered our belief system. Okay. When you're ready, I want you to bring your hands underneath your shoulders and you'll start to press yourself up to sit. Swim your legs around in front of you and sit your butt on the floor. Okay, so we're getting towards our peak pose of the day. We'll see how this goes. But to start, if you find that your low back, like all the stuff we did, didn't really help and you feel like you're still rounding a lot in your spine, I want you to sit up on a blanket. If you're like, yeah, Jessica, we did a lot of stuff, I'm okay. You don't need to, but you're gonna draw the soles of your feet together, claw onto the fronts of your ankles, pull your ankles back, pull your heart forward. So it's like, this is as much of a back bend as you feel like you can take at this point. So armpits, chest, all of this is reaching forward, breathing up. You're feeling like your head is lifting away, very buoyant, vibrant thing, and your feet are pressing into each other. We're just going to stay here for another few breaths, and you're just letting the chest be open, letting the heart be open. The shoulder blades are really supporting the back of the heart to lift open. Yeah, you got 2 more breath cycles here. Great. And then we're going to try our peak pose for today, Pavrita Janu Shirshasana. So we're going to extend our right leg out to the right, bring the left leg closer towards you, and make sure the top of your left foot comes onto the floor. You might need to move the flesh forward and away from you so that that can happen. But make sure your right foot, your toes are curling back towards your knee and your knee is pulling up towards your hip. And take your right hand and place it in front of you. Bring your left hand back behind you. Push down through both hands to lift up through your chest, and you'll start to rotate a little bit towards the left. Happy to stay here if this works for you. Otherwise, inhale, lift up through your back arm, your left arm. And as you exhale, just as we've been doing before, you're going to start to side bend towards the right. And again, we're letting gravity help us. You don't have to go balls to the walls initially. Gravity will help you. You're reaching out through those left fingertips. You're breathing into your left armpit. And every exhalation draws the pubic bone back to the sacrum up towards your face. And you'll notice, Barbara, turn your palm down towards the floor of that top arm. There you go. Yep. And you'll notice here just what's happening on that left side body. So we really worked to try to open the left side body. And notice if this feels a little bit more deep or a little bit more intense or feels really interesting. And you're just, again, breathing. You're flexing through that right foot. You're breathing. You're flexing through that right foot. You're breathing. And you've got about 4 more breath cycles here. Notice where you can soften any unnecessary tension. So keeping that right leg active, right kneecap pulling up, breathing into left side body. And at the end of your next exhalation, you'll sweep up through the left arm, reach the left arm parallel to the floor, pull yourself up, lower the left hand, lower the right hand. Just pause for a moment and notice what you notice. How did that shape impact your breath? How is your breathing impacting the way that you're thinking or feeling at this moment? Nice. Okay, let's go ahead and try the other side. So you might wish to come back through Baddha Konasana first, the soles of the feet together, heart lifts up, little happy clams here. And once you feel established in that, we'll go ahead and try the other side. So the left leg will send out to the left. You might need to take the flesh of the right calf up and away from you as you tuck the top of the right foot close to your perineum. And then again, check in with that left foot. So it's really Barbie flointed flex. The toes are pulling up to your left knee is pulling up to your hip. Left hand comes in front of you, right hand comes behind. Push down through both hands, lift up and start to rotate your chest towards your right knee. Happy to stay here, you can stay here. Otherwise, inhale, sweep your back arm, your right arm up. And then as you exhale, again, let gravity help. It'll take a little side bend over to the left. And it's really through the deepening of the breath that the shape starts to deepen. It's really through the deepening of the breath that you allow gravity to help you. And again, every inhale breathes into armpits, collarbones, rib cage. You might feel that slight rotation to the right. Every exhale draws the pubic bone to the sacrum up towards the spine. And you're just pausing and you're breathing and you're noticing what you notice. Nice breathing, nice breath. Left leg is still active. Yep. And then you're noticing where you can soften just a little bit. You've got about 4 more breath cycles here. Every exhale, pubic bone to belly button to spine. At the end of your 4th exhalation, the right arm will sweep up. It'll sweep back parallel to the floor. It'll pull your spine up to vertical. Lower the right hand, lower the left leg. Pause for a moment and just experience your breath, experience your body, experience your being. That really is the whole point in all of this. How can we be more of ourselves? How can we get out of the way so that we can experience that beauty and that light? All right, last few things. Go ahead and cross your ankles for Sukhasana. It doesn't matter which one is in front because you're going to do both, but roughly your ankles are underneath your knees. And then remove any flesh from underneath your sit bones. And then you're just going to start to walk your hands forward until you find a fun spot where you either feel your outer hips opening or you start to feel your low back opening. And then you're just going to pause there and breathe. Chin tucks in towards the nook of your neck. And you're just going to pause and you're going to breathe. You're going to pause and you're going to breathe. And you've got 3 more breath cycles here. At the end of your 3rd exhalation, you'll gently release the hands to the floor and start to walk yourself back up to vertical. When you are vertical again, see if that heart can still come forward, supported by the shoulder blades. And you'll just notice what you notice. And then you'll switch sides. So opposite shin bone now crosses in front. Might need to remove any flesh from underneath your sit bones. And then again, you'll start to hinge at the hips and walk your hands forward until you either feel something in your outer hips or you feel something happening in your lower back, whichever one feels better to you. Your chin tucks in towards the nook of your neck, but the whole spine stays as longish as it can. And then again, you're paying attention. Where is the breath now? Are you still breathing into the collarbones, into the upper ribs? And then exhaling from pelvis area. And you've got about 4 more breath cycles here, and you're just observing. I can't speak for any of you, but I do know that for me, I tend to overcomplicate so many aspects of my life. It's like if it's too simple, there's an issue. It's like, that doesn't need to be an issue, Jessica. That could just be how it is. At the end of your 3rd exhalation, you'll start to walk your hands back towards your hips. You'll start to walk your spine back up to vertical. And then you'll just take a moment to pause. How is that heart? How is that head? How is that alignment happening now? Yeah. And then when you're ready, if there's something underneath your butt or behind you, please remove it. And you're going to slowly just make your way onto your backs. If you need to cover the body up at this point, this might be the best time to do that before we lay down on our backs. But we'll do 2 more things before we head into Shavasana. So you're just going to lie down on your back first and see how that feels once you get there. Excuse me. And your legs might be bent or they might be straight. So just noticing what it feels like. How do the palms, how do the shoulders feel? How does the neck feel? How does all of that feel? Can the palms face the sky? Do the shoulder blades support the opening of the heart? Does it feel like the chin is tucked into the chest? Yeah. How do the left and the right hips feel on the floor? The left and the right shoulders feel? Okay. If your legs are straight, please go ahead and bend both knees and plant the feet on the floor. Open the arms out till they're anywhere from shoulder distance or out in a T shape or closer to your hips. This really is dependent upon you. And then you're going to cross your right thigh completely, or rather your left thigh completely over your right leg. Keep both knees bent. And then pull both legs over to the left. So left leg is on top of right leg, both legs go over to the left. And you're just going to pause here. Now, depending upon how far you took your arms, this will change what you're feeling in the shape. So I want you to just pause and breathe. Can you again breathe into the collarbones, into the upper ribs, into the upper chest? And can that exhale allow the pubic bone to come back towards the sacrum to lift up towards the head? And the sacrum, I should say, is not literally moving. It's more of the energy that you're culling in the body that's moving. We just got about 3 more breath cycles here. The end of your third exhalation, you'll gently release that left leg, come back up to center, pause in the center, and just notice what you notice between the right hip and the left hip. How does the back of the pelvis feel now? How do the shoulders feel now? After you have taken that mental imprint, we'll go ahead and switch sides. So your right leg crosses over your left thigh, and then you'll draw both legs over towards the right. And again, how this feels to you will be very dependent upon where that left arm is. The sensation changes quite a bit depending upon the distance between the left hip and the left hand. And again, you're just breathing into the collarbones, into the upper armpits, into the chest. And the exhale is drawing the pubic bone back to the belly button, all that area up. We're just feeling what that feels like. Great. Take your last 2 to 3 breath cycles here. And you're just noticing if the breath feels like it's a little slower now, a little deeper, a little fuller. All right. Next in breath, let's go ahead and come back up to center. Uncross the legs. Check in and see how the left hip and the right hip feel now, how the sacrum feels now, how the shoulders feel now. Great. And last shape of the day, you can either take Supta Baddha Konasana or Shavasana or whatever other shape you think you want to hold for a given period of time. If you feel like you would like to cover the body, by all means, please do that. Either a weighted blanket or a blanket on the pelvis might feel nice, or just covering the body with a blanket as a blanket might feel super wonderful. If you're in Supta Baddha Konasana, blocks under the outer edges of the thighs, knees open like a book, soles of the feet touching. And then once you've settled your main torso, you've settled your props, notice where it feels most comfortable. Can you allow those shoulder blades to support the opening of the heart? Can you allow those palms to face up? What does it feel like to lengthen the back of the neck so the chin nestles in towards the collarbones? And we're going to end with the breathing that we were working with all throughout class. In this instance, it sort of becomes a kriya. It's more of like a moving meditation type of thing. So As you inhale, you breathe into the collarbones, into the ribs, into the chest, and you feel the breath descend towards your pelvis. And as you exhale, you feel that energy ascend towards the crown. So it's that culling of the energy back up. So the inhale, the breath fills the chest and the ribs, and you feel it descend, you feel it drop. And as you exhale, you feel it gather at the pelvis and draw up towards your face. And you'll take this for a few more times, marrying prana and apana. So prana is the vayu that's filling the chest. Apana is the vayu that's filling the pelvis. And you might find that as you begin to really focus on these two vayus, they start to meet. Specifically, they start to meet in the abdomen. So you'll just take that one or two more times, really focusing on breathing into the ribs and the chest and the breath descending down. And then the exhale ascending up. At the end of the next exhalation, let your awareness rest in your abdomen, in the navel center. And as best as you can, just allow your awareness to rest in the abdominal region, watching as the body breathes in and watching as the body breathes out. You will go ahead and hang out here for a few more moments on your own. And when it's time to come out, I'll let you know. Gently return your awareness. Staying in stillness, just notice what you notice. If there's any part of you that longs to linger in this shape, by all means, please hang out here as long as you'd like. Otherwise, you'll gently start to reawaken the body, paying very particular attention to how that feels as you do so. Those that are in stillness, please stay as long as you would like. Those that are in movement, please start to make your way to your right side. From your side, you'll slowly start to press yourself up to a tall and comfortable seat. And then please be sure to elevate your pelvis on a block or a blanket. We'll just finish here. Short little break. I just want you to sit as tall as you can. Soften the gaze or close the eyes, and you just notice how you feel now. Our asana practice is intended to be a tool to help us deepen our connection to our breath. Working with our breath is said to be a tool to help us deepen our connection to our mind. Working with our mind is said to be a tool for helping us deepen our connection to our heart, to our spirit, to our soul. And so as you're here for these last few breath cycles, I want you to just notice what you notice. How does it feel to breathe right now? What is the quality of your mind? And what is the quality of your being? Please draw your hands to heart center, Anjali Mudra. Press the palms into each other. Receive the weight of the thumbs into your sternum and lift your heart towards your hands. Soften the chin towards the nook of your neck and gently exhale all the breath from your mouth. Take a big breath in. Audible breath out. Inhale for Om. Join if you'd like. Om. To that light, to that breath, to that movement, we bow. Namaste.